If you watch NFL films and you remember the post-San Francisco-San Diego Super Bowl where Steve Young's tossing the monkey off his back, it's kind of how it was for Miami last night against West Virginia, winning a bowl game for the first time in 10 years. We bring in Cam Underwood from State of the U, flexing his muscles and smiling ear to ear. Cam, how are you?
I'm good. I'm awesome. Yo, let's do that. Let's get that monkey off the back. All those kind of things. I feel really good. Was up at the game in Orlando yesterday. Drove up yesterday. Hung out with a bunch of my friends. Had some really nice seats on the 25-yard line, and ended up being like the third row, kind of second row thing there behind like the handicapped access seats. We're the second row behind that, so third row, however you want to look at it. But right down front, it was awesome. There were a lot of Canes fans that were up there. Obviously, having a game in the state of Florida was great, and it was a lot better than the last time that I had made that drive up to Orlando to go watch a bowl game in that stadium. And like you said, it's the best bowl game result that we've had since 2005 with the Micron PC Bowl, I believe that was, against Nevada. So it's been a while. Had to dig deep for that, but it's all smiles and jocularity over here today because 31-14. So West Virginia got dealt with, so it feels good.
Cam, this was a game that was tabbed by many people, including myself, as a must-see early bowl game. This is going to be one of the better matchups of the early bowl season before we get to the playoffs, etc. And a lot of us were scratching our head trying to figure out who's going to win this game. Oh, it's going to be razor close. We can see where West Virginia's top 15 in the country. They've got 10 wins, but Miami's got the better roster. And wow, after a few series of this game, this defensive stand that Miami took on West Virginia, a team that ranked 12th in the nation in total offense, 500-plus yards per game, threw it all over the field, had the three-headed rushing attack, 1,000-yard rusher, and just clamped down.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's Manny Diaz, our defensive coordinator. I still say he should have been a finalist for the Broyles Award for the best assistant coach in football or in college football. Between him and Craig Kuligowski, the defensive line coach, our front seven gets up the field. We wreak havoc. We do business in people's backfields. Coach Kuligowski, his Twitter @ is "Let's meet at the QB," which is awesome for a defensive line coach. And we had 9 tackles for loss for 54 total yards for loss yesterday. Dropped what would have been a pick 6. And we clamped them down. That's the thing. Like, even when we did the preview video and when we did the staff predictions on State of the U, for me, it just came down to the fact that West Virginia couldn't play with us. Like you said, they don't have our kind of roster. They don't have our kind of speed. They couldn't run with us. They couldn't play with us. They couldn't stick us on their defensive side. There was just really nothing about that game that led me to believe, even leading up to this, and you can go back and look at the video and read the website. Leading up to this game, this is how I felt, and we were doing the math, Mark and I, before we got on the screen. What was it? It was the last 6 drives of the first half. They had 13 total yards.
That was
West Virginia. Yeah. I mean, look, that's elite, and if you go down the last 5 drives, they had negative yardage, So, I mean, we did what we needed to do. We made those adjustments, and the touchdown drive that they got, both of them were buoyed by personal foul penalties against Miami. So the one with the kick catch interference, which was a terrible call because the guy didn't call for a fair catch, and Travis Homer didn't touch him, wasn't within 2 yards, and the ball hit him off his head and then bounced away. You get a 15-yard penalty on that, and that ends up being a 39-yard touchdown drive. The other touchdown drive in the third quarter, Michael Pinckney got ejected for targeting, and I'm one of the few who thinks that was a proper call. I'm not going to call it a good call. I hate it, but with the receiver was kind of almost going to the ground, Pinckney had to lead with his head to get down there. So I think that was a proper call. I hate that rule. I hate it for the kid who's one of our best linebackers, was playing amazingly in that game. But you get an extra 15 yards on that drive, and then they score again. So West Virginia fans were talking to me today and yesterday talking about, Miami got all these calls and that one pass interference on the ball that Brad threw down the seam to Stacey Coley when the guy was dragging him or had his jersey for 20 yards or whatever. Looking at that, I'm like, look, the only reason that they got points came on drives where we gave up personal foul penalties. So, yeah, across that, Skylar Howard is garbage, their quarterback, West Virginia's, and that's what he looked like. The rushing attack, they got us with it looked like inverted veer, but when Justin Batavio, our X's and O guy, today, it was actually a power read option kind of thing where they pulled the backside guard to the front side, and they're doing that kind of read option, inverted veer kind of thing. They scored on us on that, but, outside of that, they didn't do anything rushing. Shelton Gibson, one of their wide receivers who was supposed to be good, he was talking all this noise about how they were going to be so great and knock Cornelder out of the draft contention because they were going to just hit him up at the top with passes and everything all day long. I don't know what Shelton Gibson did in the game, but I went on Twitter after the game, and ooh, boy, West Virginia fans were mad at him because he woke up the monster. Like, he poked the bear. Corn had a great game. You had Adrian Kolbert came back, only played in it was his 6th game because he had hurt a wrist, but he came in, had that play where, again, just like at Notre Dame, they tried to go the little now screen with the receiver in front of him. He beats that block, flips the guy over. That might have even been the Shelton Gibson kid, or Gibson was the one who missed the block. One of the two. Anyway, Colbert goes in there, flips the kid over in the 4th quarter, and then comes out of the ball game saying, well, basically, look, I did that. I hit him so hard. That's going to be the last play of my college career because you can't get better than that without a pick 6. So, I know this shifted from numbers to emotions, but Miami's defense did what we do, gave up a little bit, made adjustments, and without us hurting ourselves on defense, West Virginia would have been shut out. So I think that's a credit to all of the guys that we have on defense. Joseph Jackson, my man, that freshman cyborg, like I'm telling you about, he had a sack and a half or 2 sacks in that game. Chad Thomas in the backfield all day long. And if you didn't see this, on the day before the game, they had a little gathering between the two teams, and Chad is a music engineering major, plays piano, so he got up there and played a little piano while he was rapping over it. So what was his celebration every time he made a play? Playing them keys. So, he was doing that. Cortel Jenkins had a great game. Mike Pinkney had a great game until he got ejected. Shaq Quarterman had a great game. Jamal Carter and Rayshawn Jenkins. I'm just going down the list on defense. These kids balled out all day long, and it was great to see. It was wonderful. In West Virginia, honestly, they had no answers. And if you look across the board, this is not the same team that won that Orange Bowl against Clemson. And Mark and I were talking about this before we came on air, where Tavon Austin just scored again against Clemson because that was ridiculous. This team doesn't have that kind of skill. They don't have that kind of talent. I read a couple pieces talking about the development of a Dana Holgorsen offense. You had to develop the offense. Why? Because you don't got those horses. But you know who has those horses? The Canes defense. And that's what showed up yesterday.
Sure did. It looks like a 1970s box score, especially for a team that plays in the Big 12 that's used to running around the field. And I think sometimes the way the Big 12 has played football in recent years, it's almost like a different game. And these teams sometimes get a little shocked when they get into a situation where they're actually going to get hit in the mouth, and they're actually going to have a guy breathing down their back and breathing down their neck running down the field, and they're not going to just be running, waving their hands in wide open space, catching passes. It's just a different style of football that a team like Miami brings to the table. So on the offensive side, Brad Kaya, much like we saw across the board offensively, a bit of a rough start. Nothing tragic, disastrous, but a bit of a slow start. And then he throws 4 touchdown passes and hits on 24 of 34.
Yeah, Kaya, the offense started slow, and I'm not just going to put it on him. But it was very conservative from the start. I know that Miami wanted to run the ball. Obviously, that's the DNA of a Mark Richt offense, but it was very conservative. Inside run, 5-yard pass. Or no, they tried to throw a 12-yard pass on 3rd and 7, but he sailed it out of bounds, which was the best play because if you throw it late on there, it's going to be intercepted on the far sideline. But we went, what was it? We went almost 20 minutes of game action without getting a first down. And that was frustrating to me in the stands because, like I said, I never thought that West Virginia could stick us. And that's me in a basketball kind of term. They just couldn't stick us. They couldn't play man-to-man. They couldn't do it. You looked at the corners, and, their heels are at 12 yards off the receiver all day. And my buddies and I in the stands were saying, look, throw the now route, the stop route, the zero, whatever you want to call it. Throw it out there and take those yards. And when they finally made that adjustment, they went RPO, boom, quick out to Armon Richards. What happened? Touchdown. And then, okay, we're going to do that again. Then in the 2-minute drill, we're going to go. It was a beautiful combination. You had the inside receiver run a curl, and you had the outside receiver run a dig route at about 12 yards behind it. And we did that down the field, left, right, and just kept doing it. And then that touchdown to Berrios, instead of the inside guy running that hook, boom, we were 3 verticals, seam. So you got outside, and then you got a seam route. So the guy's thinking, okay, he's going to squat on this curl, and Berrios is by him. Boom, you get that little side adjustment up top, touchdown is 21-7 before you even know what happens. But when he got time, when Brad got time and the offense adjusted a little bit, we were just rolling. I mean, and you just saw it across the board. Malcolm Lewis had a touchdown, 5th-year senior, who 5 years ago had that nasty, nasty ankle injury against Georgia Tech. His final game. Richards had the first touchdown. Berrios had the touchdown up the seam. David Njoku had another touchdown. And we're going to talk about him a little bit later. But, it was just like the Duke game where you hit him on a little, kind of out route, and it's one-on-one with the defender, and it's a cornerback. He's not big enough to get David Njoku on the ground. So you get him around the ankle, stiff arm, hops out of that tackle, and then what happens again? He dives in from the 5-yard line because he's an athletic freak, and this is what David Njoku does. So it eventually the running game did get settled enough where in that 4th quarter we kind of leaned on them a little bit on that next to last drive that we had, because we had the one drive where we kneeled it. But we got a little bit going. There were a couple holding calls that did set us back a little bit in the run game. But when we finally went to the stop route option and the bubble screen option, saying if you're going to give us a couple yards, we're going to take a couple yards because our offensive players are going to take a short gain and put it in the end zone. And if you look at it, okay, Malcolm Lewis, his touchdown was inside the 10, but that was an RPO where he faked like he was going to block, and then all of a sudden he's in the back of the end zone. You had that route combination with the sight adjustment like we're talking about with Berrios up the seam. But Armon Richards, it looked like they were playing tag at recess because there were 3 or 4 guys who reached out and they're like, okay, we got you on the shoulder, we got you on the leg. No, 7-on-7, he's down. But in a game with pads, he's still running. David Njoku, one-on-one with the defender. There's few defenders in college, let alone the NFL, one-on-one on the outside who are going to be successful to the point where they're going to stop him dead at first contact. And David Njoku's run through those tackles and made those plays into touchdowns all year. That was his, 8th or 9th touchdown of the season. He just does that. So the offense eventually did get rolling. I don't have the stats in front of me. Maybe Mark does. But, once after those first 20 minutes of the game, it really just picked up. And it was there were adjustments to the scheme, but it just ended up being we had better guys and just get our guys the ball and let them work and, bring up the points.
So, 5 3-and-outs to start the ball game, and you still finish with 363 yards of total offense, which in this day and age doesn't sound like a lot, but when you go 5 3-and-outs, that's mostly coming in the second half. So the offense got cranked up, and Kaya spread it out. 6 different receivers with at least 3 catches. Much of the nation was introduced to Armon Richards and his ability. He had a huge freshman season, and obviously his future is bright.
Yeah, no, Armon Richards, he's great. Freshman All-American. I did some research at the behest of a couple guys, friends of mine on Twitter, but Rivals.com, one of the recruiting sites, had 12 or 13 receivers in the state of Florida last cycle who they ranked as better than Armon Richards. Actually, I'm going to click over so I can give you this exact statistic. 1 second. But that group of gentlemen, of course, right now when I need it. Maybe it's on my computer. I'm going to find it. But he ended this season with nearly 1,000 yards. Came up just short in the bowl game. But all of the guys in front of him on the Rivals rankings last year, they totaled – oh, there it is. So all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 guys that were ranked as better than Amon Richards. They combined in the regular season for 77 catches for 958 yards and 8 touchdowns. While Amon Richards, after the bowl game, has, I'm going to click over here and do receiving. After the bowl game, he has 49 catches for 934 and 3 touchdowns. So, you know, a collective group of 14 guys has more touchdowns than Richards. But nobody in that group has more than 19 catches. Nobody in that other group has more than 238 yards. Nobody else even matches Amon Richards with 3 touchdowns. The highest is 2 out of all of those other guys that rivals had ranked over him. So, you know, some people just didn't see it from the beginning, but I was not one of those. I saw it from his junior year of high school when I first got introduced to him on the recruiting scene. And he played really well, and he should be a household name. I hope that he stays for 4 years, but if he performs to the level of his talent, he should be 3 years in the first or second round draft pick, honestly. So, you know, it was great to see him do well. You know, and just all those guys actually, you know, step up their games. You know, and with Brad throwing for 282 and 4 touchdowns, obviously it's not one guy doing everything by himself, but, you know, there were a lot of guys who really stepped up in that game, and we do have talent on offense, and it showed through.
So it's an impressive cap to the season. The Canes finish at 9-4 after defeating what at least was on paper as a top 15 team in the country. 31-14, and it wasn't that close. David Njoku announced after the game that he's leaving. Brad Kaya, his decision still up in the air. How do we stand, not just in regards to Kaya, but other significant losses to the next level?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously all of the seniors are going to go. So we thank them for their service to the University of Miami. They're lifelong Canes, just like I am. And, you know, again, I know that I'm one of the few who's an alum, but, you know, I am. So, you know, that those are my brothers, my Hurricane brothers for life. So obviously, you know, thank you to all those gentlemen. David Njoku is a redshirt sophomore, but I did wax poetic about him already on this, you know, video today. And yeah, he has decided that he's going to the NFL draft. I think that had been decided for a while, but he didn't want to detract from the bowl preparation or anything like that. But, you know, when he did what he does, honestly, in that bowl game, like, I knew that he was gone. It was just a matter of when he was going to declare. So he finally did. And honestly, I think that he's going to test off the charts. David Njoku's 6'4", 245, runs in the low 4.5s, high 4.4s, was a 3-time state champion high jumper from New Jersey in high school, was ACC indoor or outdoor high jump champion last year or the year before, I want to say. So he has explosive athleticism. He's developing as a blocker. He does drop passes from time to time. He would have like a really bad drop in every game, like one, but it would be there. So there are things that he can improve upon, but he's going to go to the combine and he's going to put up ridiculous numbers. So I don't see him going more than there's 32 picks in the first round. He's going to go top 40. So within the first 8 picks of the second round, I think. I mean, he's a physical freak. He's only 22, I want to say, age-wise, 21 or 22. So he's young also, and just oozes athleticism. So there's going to be teams that are going to line up to get him. So he's going to do really well, be a high draft pick, which is going to look great for the University of Miami and everything, because he was a 3-star recruit. He was an athlete. We weren't sure if he was going to be receiver, tight end, but he had the body frame to bulk up because he was only about 208, 210 pounds coming out of high school. So he's a solid 25, 35 pounds heavier, but didn't lose any explosion, which is crazy. So he'll do well. Brad Kaya, he's deciding if he's going to go to the NFL draft or not. There's a faction of Miami Hurricanes fandom that supports both him going and him staying. That's something we're actually going to evaluate on the website tomorrow at the stateoftheu.com. So be sure you check that out. I got a point counterpoint series. I'm writing one of those. I'm not telling you which one, but you'll have to see which side. So there's going to be a piece for him going and him staying. But there's positives and negatives, obviously. His career-leading passer in completions, in yardage, in attempts, second in touchdowns, only to Corey Harris, who played for 4 years here. So he has an extra season on Kaya, but he's still, no lower than third, I don't think, in any passing statistic at the University of Miami. And if obviously had, Jim Kelly, who's a Hall of Famer, come through here, Gino Torretta, Vinny Testaverde, Heisman Trophy winners have played this position. Ken Dorsey, arguably the greatest Miami Hurricanes quarterback of all time. So he's in that rarefied air. So, he makes NFL throws. You can see him from, one hash to the far sideline throwing an out route. I mean, anticipation, accuracy, things that are positive for him. He does not have an elite arm, so that's something to detract from him if he were to go, say, to a Chicago where the wind has its own nickname in the city of Chicago. It's called the Hawk, if you didn't know that. But throwing into that wind, maybe he doesn't have that Jay Cutler arm to do that. His footwork can get cleaned up. He's statuesque is the nice way. He's immobile and slow is the not nice way to say that. So there's positives and negatives to his candidacy for the NFL draft. I don't think that he's going to be, the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft, Brad Kaaya, as was projected maybe before the season. But if he were to go, maybe, second or third round could be something. But again, I'm just a guy who lives here. I don't work for the NFL or the draft advisory committee. So I don't know that for sure, but Brad Kaaya is going to get that counsel and he'll make his decision. Joseph Yearby has been reported that he'll be leaving to go to the NFL draft, who's a junior running back. I think that that's a smart decision for him. He's 22 years old, has 2 kids and everything, and is the provider for his family. So he's, and running backs have a short shelf life, shorter than any regular other football player. So, going to the league and, making money, because even if you're on a practice squad, you're still making $100,000 a year. NFL minimum is, 200 something thousand. So, you could do way worse than that. So he's already been rumored to go. We've had a couple other guys, shuttle themselves off the roster. Guys like what was his name? Hunter Knighton. He had the heat stroke 2 years ago and almost lost his life and battled back to be on the team, but he wasn't really going to play snaps here. Brendan Loftus, another reserve offensive lineman who wasn't going to play snaps here. Those 2 gentlemen have announced that they're going to transfer. There's a couple other guys who've been rumored to possibly transfer. Running back Gus Edwards and defensive tackle Cortell Jenkins. Both of those guys are underclassmen, so they could go somewhere else and then have eligibility left. So they're looking at that, or it's been rumored and reported that they are, but nothing concrete on that. So there could be additional attrition to this roster, but for right now, it's really just Loftus and Knighton have decided that they're going to transfer Njoku to the league. Kaaya maybe to the league, maybe not, but we're going to look at that tomorrow on SaveTheU.com, so be sure you check it out.
So, Cam, the compensation for an NFL rookie a little bit better than you anticipated.
Yeah.
$465K per year for a rookie, $540 for a veteran minimum.
Okay, so double what I thought for a rookie. But the practice squad, I think you make like $8,000 a week or something like that. That's only during the season. But, if you're talking through training camp and whatnot, you have a 20-week season, at $8,000 a week. 20 times 8 is 160. I wasn't a math major, but I'm pretty sure that math works out. So, one way or the other, even if he just makes it to a practice squad, Joe Yearby would be in a good financial position. Obviously not, generational wealth like the Rockefellers or anything like that, but $160,000 a year, I wish I made that in my real job.
All right, 9-4 finish, possibly sneaking into the final top 25 for the Canes, and more importantly, a bright future for the squad heading into Mark Richt's second year in 2017. So our next stop, Cam, will be talking recruiting and personnel for 2017.
Yeah, that's really what's kicking up, and there's been a lot of movement on that. Wide receiver recruiting looks pretty poor right now. Only David Njoku's younger brother, Evidence Njoku, that's his name, Evidence, is committed at wide receiver. He's not as bulky. He doesn't have the same frame as his brother. He's 6'6", about 185 pounds, so 2 inches taller and 60 pounds lighter. But he kind of is in the mold of a Tommy Streeter. For Hurricanes fans who remember that name as a wide receiver, physically, Tommy Streeter. You can leave all your other thoughts about Tommy Streeter aside. Physically, very similar games. So that's something that we're looking at to see how they close it at wide receiver. Got 2 quarterbacks coming in. So if Brad Kaaya should choose to leave, maybe N'Kosi Perry and Cade Weldon son of Casey Weldon, who was coached by Mark Richt at Florida State back in the day. Maybe one of those two guys asserts themselves into the quarterback battle moving forward. Got three nice defensive linemen coming in: DJ Johnson, Jonathan Ford, and Jonathan Garvin. Maybe you're looking to get a fourth one of those. Got a couple linebackers coming in who probably profile to be, backups behind the freshman All-Americans that we have in Pinckney and Quarterman. And Zack Mcleod wasn't as highly touted for his season this year, number 53 at linebacker. But that was my favorite of those three linebacker recruits, which I know is saying something because Quarterman and Pinckney are really good. But Zack Mcleod is like the prototype for an NFL linebacker. And he was the one who jumped that little bubble screen and almost had a pick six yesterday. So if you're looking at the last 5 or 6 games, Zack Mcleod had an elite close this season. So you got some guys coming in behind them. You got some swag at cornerback, Trajan Bandy, who's friends with Sean Taylor's family, the late Sean Taylor, his family. So he has Sean Taylor's game-worn, the Fiesta Bowl jersey, and he has his if you remember, the visor, the one, you know the visor I'm talking. Trajan Bandy owns that visor because he got it from Sean Taylor's family. So connections like that, and just adding more talent to the team. So there are some holes in recruiting still, and I'm going to actually sit down here and map out how I'm going to try to cover this going towards National Signing Day. But yeah, that'll be our next conversation, and hopefully, a 9-win season, winning a bowl game for the first time in a decade. I know that there are some people who do not believe in the idea of momentum, but if you are someone who does, hopefully that momentum will avail itself in the recruiting battles and the recruiting close that we have coming to February 1st.
Kim Underwood, State of the U, on a emotional high following the Canes' first bowl victory in 10 years. But regardless, win or lose, always providing the best analysis we can find across the board on Miami football.
It's good. I'm a Cane for life. I'm happy. I got the smile on my face. I'm over here doing the Usain Bolt, everything. It's like I said, it's a great day to be a Hurricane. It's always a great day to be a Hurricane, but it's an especially great day today. So, it feels good. Hopefully this sounds good. You guys enjoy it. But, like I said, always thank you for having me on, and go Canes.